Hello, sleepy soul. Welcome to Midnight Talks. I'm your storyteller tonight, your host in the dark. If you enjoy the tales I whisper, don't forget to subscribe so I don't get lost in this endless crowd. Now, let's begin our story. She Calls Part 1. The first call. The clock on the wall clicked one last time before it hit 3:15 a.m. Dr. Ethan Cole woke suddenly. He'd been having the same dream for weeks. The sound of his wife's voice calling his name, soft and broken, just out of reach. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. The room was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the rain outside. His apartment looked like the inside of his mind. Unwashed cups, crumpled therapy notes, an empty bottle of wine beside the couch. He glanced at his phone on the nightstand. No notifications. "Of course not," he muttered. "You're gone, Lena." He used to say her name like a prayer. Now it sounded like an apology. Ethan walked to the kitchen. He had a therapy session in the morning, but lately he felt like the one who needed help. He poured cold coffee into a chipped mug, took a sip, and froze. His phone was ringing. At first, he didn't process it. The ringtone was the one Lena used to set for her calls. Moon River. He stared at the glowing screen. The name across it made his stomach drop. Lena. His wife had been dead 6 months. He buried her himself. His fingers trembled. He hesitated, then pressed answer. "Hello." For a few seconds there was only static. Then came a whisper, faint and trembling. "Ethan." He dropped the mug. Coffee splashed across the floor. "Who is this? Why did you leave me?" It was her voice, the same softness, the same lilt. But it sounded wrong, slower, like her voice was being dragged through water. "Lena," he whispered, "you left me in the dark. Stop. You promised you'd wait." He slammed the phone down. The line went dead, no sound, no static, just silence. He looked at the screen. No active call, no record, nothing in the log. Ethan sank to the floor, his head in his hands. "I'm losing my mind." But when he looked up, the phone buzzed again, a single text notification. "Tomorrow, 3:15. Pick up. I need to tell you what you did." He didn't sleep that night. The next day passed in a haze. He went to his clinic half awake. His first patient, Mara, sat in front of him. A woman in her 30s with severe paranoia. Her eyes darted to the corners of the room. "She's calling again," Mara whispered. Ethan froze. "Who's calling, Mara?" "The woman in the dark. She sounds kind, but it's not her." It pretends. His heart started to pound. "What does she say to you?" "She says the same thing every night." Her eyes locked onto his. "She says, 'Why did you leave me?'" The pen slipped from his hand. He told himself it was coincidence, projection, his grief creeping into the session. Still, he ended the appointment early. He couldn't breathe in that room anymore. That night, Ethan unplugged his phone before bed. He even turned it off. But at exactly 3:15 a.m., the phone powered on by itself. The ringtone played, Moon River. He picked it up, voice shaking. "What do you want?" There was silence, then the faint sound of breathing. "Come back to me." "Where?" "The lake." The call ended. Ethan stared at the screen, heart hammering. No record, no message, no number. But in the reflection of the black phone screen, he thought he saw a pale face behind him, watching. The next morning, he drove. He didn't even know why. He followed the old road through Black Hollow, the forest where he and Lena used to walk before the crash, the night she drove into the lake. They said it was an accident. The road was wet, she lost control. But Ethan knew. They'd fought that night. He'd said things you can't take back. He parked near the guardrail, rain falling in steady sheets. He looked down at the dark, still lake. Then his phone rang. No service, but the screen lit anyway. Lena calling. He shouldn't have answered. He did. "Lena?" You're close, she said. I can see you. Ethan's eyes darted around. No one was there. Where are you? Underneath. The call ended. He stood frozen until the rain stopped. When he looked back at the car, his reflection in the window looked wrong. His mouth was smiling, but he wasn't. When he got home, a voicemail waited for him. The timestamp, 3:16 a.m. He pressed play. At first only static, then Lena's voice again, but faintly beneath her, another voice, a child's whisper. Come back to the lake. Ethan stopped the playback. He replayed it. This time he heard it clearly. It wasn't one voice. It was many, overlapping, whispering together. He left us there. Ethan sat in the dark, phone in his hand, tears in his eyes. I didn't leave you, Lena. I tried to. The phone rang, 3:15 a.m. The screen glowed. Incoming call, Lena. He answered. Tomorrow, she said. We'll talk about what you did. The line went dead. Part 2. Morning light crept through the blinds, slicing across Ethan's living room. The phone sat on the counter where he'd left it, dark and still. He hadn't touched it since the last call. He hadn't slept either. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard her voice, soft, pleading, calling from somewhere just below the surface of his thoughts. By 8 a.m., he was at the clinic. The mirror in the restroom showed deep shadows under his eyes. He looked older, hollowed out. His colleagues had started avoiding him, his outbursts, his sudden silences. He was supposed to help people cope with trauma, but lately he couldn't even trust his own mind. He checked his phone one more time before his first session. No missed calls, no messages. For a moment, he let himself breathe. His first patient was a new referral, Rachel Harrow, a woman in her 40s who claimed she heard voices through the walls. She sat rigidly in the chair, her fingers twisting the hem of her coat. Ethan began gently. Rachel, tell me about the voices. They come at night, she said. They whisper my name. They sound like people I used to know. Do they frighten you? Rachel looked up, eyes red. Not at first, but now they say things only I would know. Private things, things I never told anyone. Ethan wrote a note, but his hand shook. What kind of things? Rachel leaned forward. They ask me why I left. They say it's cold where they are. They ask me to come back. His stomach turned. Rachel, he said quietly, have you ever lost someone close to you? She nodded slowly. My husband. He drowned 2 years ago at Black Hollow Lake. Ethan froze. His pen dropped to the floor. Rachel noticed. You know that place? He forced a weak smile. Just heard of it. But his mind screamed. The lake again. Always the lake. When she left, he closed the office door and sat at his desk, breathing hard. He couldn't stop thinking about her words. They asked me to come back. He checked his voicemail again. Nothing new. He played the old message from the night before. The overlapping whispers filled the room. Beneath them, faintly, he heard his own voice, whispering back. He stopped the tape, rewound it, played it again. This time he could make it out clearly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. He didn't remember ever saying that. He stared at the wall until his vision blurred. His phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. She's trying to reach you. Don't answer tonight. He read it twice. No sender ID. No reply possible. The next patient was Mara, the same woman from the day before. She looked worse. Pale, shaking, eyes sunken. She's close now, Mara whispered as soon as she sat down. Ethan tried to keep his voice calm. Who is? The one who calls. The woman from the dark water. She said you would help her. He felt his throat tighten. What did she tell you? That she's not finished with you. Mara, listen to me. She told me your name, Mara said softly. Ethan. The sound of his name from her lips sent a chill through him. He stood up. That's enough for today. But Mara kept talking, voice growing distant and strange. She said you left her there. She said you promised to wait. He grabbed his coat and walked out, leaving her mid-sentence. He couldn't breathe in that room another second. Outside, the sky was gray. He sat in his car with his hands gripping the steering wheel, staring at the black screen of his phone. He wanted to throw it out the window, but he couldn't. At home, he set it on the table and watched the clock. 3 o'clock, 3:05, 3:10. He told himself he wouldn't answer this time. When it rang at 3:15, he jumped. He let it ring once, twice. The melody echoed through the house. On the 5th ring, he picked up. Lena? No voice, only static, then faint breathing. He whispered, "What do you want from me?" The voice came at last. "Tell me what you see in your dreams." He froze. "Every night," she continued, "you see me there. You wake before I reach you." "Why?" "I don't know," he said. "Yes, you do." Her tone changed, deeper now, almost two voices blending together. "You left me at the lake." "I didn't," he shouted. "I tried to save you." Static filled the line, then laughter, distant and hollow. "Then why am I still here?" The call cut off. He sat in the dark, shaking. For a long time, there was only the sound of rain against the windows. Then faintly, a ringtone came from the other side of the room. He turned. The old landline phone, the one he hadn't used in years, was glowing. It rang again. He picked up slowly. "Who is this?" This time the voice wasn't Lena's. It was a child. "She says she can't cross until you remember." "Remember what?" The line went dead. He stared at the silent receiver, cold sweat dripping down his back. The air felt heavy, damp. The smell of lake water filled the room. He turned toward the window. Outside, She Calls Part 3. The Lake Doesn't Sleep. Ethan didn't remember falling asleep. He woke on the couch just after dawn, his neck aching, the landline still on the floor beside him. The smell of damp earth lingered in the air. He checked the front door. It was locked, but muddy footprints stained the wooden floor, leading toward the window and fading there. He opened the curtains. Outside, the street was quiet. No sign of anyone. He stood there for a long time, watching the fog drift across the empty road, trying to convince himself the footprints were just a trick of light. But deep down, he knew better. At the clinic, he couldn't focus. His notes blurred, his handwriting turned to nonsense. He kept hearing faint ringing in his ears, like a phone off the hook. His secretary mentioned that a detective had called, asking for him. When he returned the call, a woman's voice answered, calm, professional. Detective Claire Winters, Pennsylvania State Police. I'm looking into an unresolved case connected to Black Hollow Lake. You were the primary contact for the victim, Lena Cole? Ethan's chest tightened. Yes, she was my wife. Claire hesitated. We've been reviewing the file. Something's come up. The body we recovered 6 months ago. There's been a mistake. What kind of mistake? The remains weren't hers. Ethan went silent. He could hear the hum of her office through the line, papers shuffling. I thought you should know, Claire continued. We're reopening the case. If anything unusual happens, please contact me. He ended the call without answering. That night he drove back to Black Hollow Lake. The same narrow road, the same twisted guardrail. The trees stood tall and silent, their branches reaching like arms. The rain had stopped, but the air was thick with mist. The lake spread out before him, dark as glass. He parked and stepped out, gravel crunching under his shoes. A faint sound broke the quiet, the sharp trill of a phone ringing. It wasn't his. The sound came from the water's edge. He followed it down the slope, his shoes sinking into wet earth. There, hanging from a broken tree branch near the shore, was a single black telephone, its cord dangling into the water. It rang again. He reached out, hesitating only a moment before lifting the receiver. "Hello?" Static. Then his own voice answered. "Hello, Ethan." He froze. The voice was identical to his, but hollow, slower, as if echoing from a tunnel. "Who is this?" "You know me," the voice said. "You left me here." He dropped the phone. It landed in the mud, but the voice kept speaking through the receiver, faintly repeating his name. "Ethan, Ethan." He turned and ran. When he got back to the car, his headlights flickered. The engine wouldn't start. The phone on the passenger seat lit up. "Incoming call, Lena." He screamed and hurled it out the window into the darkness. The ringing didn't stop. It grew louder, echoing from the trees, multiplied into dozens of phones ringing at once, surrounding him. He covered his ears. "Stop it!" And just like that, silence. The lake was still again. He sat in the car for hours, trembling. When dawn came, the world felt wrong. Colors looked muted, sounds distant. He drove home, his clothes damp with sweat and rain. Inside, the phone was waiting for him on the table, dry, clean, as if it had never left. He turned on his answering machine. A new message blinked. He pressed play. The voice was Lena's. "You shouldn't have gone back." He's awake now. He replayed it again and again until another sound came through, a soft splash in the background, followed by a whisper. "She's not alone down here." He turned the volume up, pressing the speaker to his ear. Beneath the whisper, he could hear something else, breathing, slow and heavy, like someone standing right behind him. He turned. No one was there. The breathing stopped. Then the phone rang again. He lifted it slowly. "Lena." "Not Lena," the voice said. "You." "I don't understand." "Yes, you do. You drowned me. You watched." He staggered back, shaking his head. "No, it was an accident. I tried to pull you out." "You tried to forget," the voice hissed. "But the lake remembers." The line went dead. That night he dreamed of her for the first time. He stood at the edge of the lake calling her name. She rose from the water, her hair black with weeds, her face pale and still. She reached out her hand, lips blue, eyes open. When he woke, his hand was wet, and his phone sat on his chest, ringing softly. The screen showed no name this time, just a single word. Below. She Calls, Part 4. The Truth Underwater. Ethan didn't sleep again. The word on his phone screen burned into his thoughts. Below. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the lake, black and endless, and heard his own voice whispering from beneath the surface. By morning, he looked like someone else, hollow-eyed, trembling, wearing the same clothes from the day before. He went to his office, but the clinic lights felt too bright, too sterile. His patient stared at him in confusion when he asked strange questions mid-session. "Do you believe the dead can call us back?" The woman shook her head. "Doctor, are you all right?" He wasn't. When the day ended, Ethan drove again, not toward home, but toward the lake. His hands moved on their own. The detective's words echoed in his mind. The remains weren't hers. If Lena's body wasn't found, then who had he buried? The fog grew thicker the closer he got. When he stepped out of the car, it was silent. No birds, no wind, no insects. Only the faint smell of stagnant water and something metallic, like rust or blood. He followed the dirt path to the dock, the same place he'd last seen her alive. That night came back in fragments. The argument, her tears, his shouting, the storm, her slipping hand. He remembered diving after her, but he didn't remember pulling her out. Just darkness, then the sound of sirens. Now standing there again, he whispered to the water, Lena, if you're here, please talk to me. The lake rippled. A phone began to ring beneath the surface. He dropped to his knees. No. The sound was muffled but clear, rhythmic, mechanical. He grabbed a nearby oar, reached into the cold water, and stirred. The phone rose slowly, covered in algae, its cord tangled with weeds. He pulled it free, shaking, and pressed it to his ear. Ethan. It was Lena's voice, not distorted this time. Calm, real, heartbreakingly familiar. Why did you leave me there? Tears filled his eyes. I didn't mean to. I tried to save you. No, you tried to bury what you did. What did I do? The voice was quiet for a moment. Then, you pushed me. He dropped the phone as if it burned him. That's not true. You slipped. You pushed me because I was leaving. Because I found out he froze. Found out what? The phone was silent. Then a faint sound came through. Paper rustling, a recording starting. His own voice played back. Lena, listen to me. You can't tell anyone. You don't understand what this will do to me. Her voice answered, trembling. You falsified the reports, Ethan. You made patients disappear. The recording stopped. He felt sick. The air grew colder. The lake rippled again, wider this time, as if something large moved beneath. From the center of the water, bubbles rose. Then slowly a shape began to surface. Not a body, but a chair. A therapy chair, the kind from his office, covered in silt and decay. On it sat a woman's figure, her head tilted, hair floating in the water like black smoke. Ethan fell backward, crawling away. No, this isn't real. Her eyes opened underwater, staring directly at him. You lied, Ethan, she said. Now you'll listen. The phone in his hand began to vibrate. He looked down. Incoming call, unknown number. He didn't answer. The ringing grew louder until the phone cracked, splitting down the middle. Water poured out of it, flooding his lap. He stood stumbling toward the car, but the lake wasn't still anymore. It churned violently, waves rising where there had been none. A voice echoed all around him, not from the phone, not from the air, but inside his head. You drowned me with your silence. You buried me in your lies. He clutched his ears. Stop it. You wanted to forget. Now you'll remember. The next thing he knew, he was in the water, gasping. He didn't remember jumping. Something pulled at his ankles, dragging him down. The cold sliced through him, his lungs burning as he sank deeper. Below, through the murky dark, he saw faces, dozens of them, pale, open-eyed, mouths moving soundlessly, the missing patients, the ones he'd lost, the ones he'd altered records for, all staring. At the center of them, Lena waited. She smiled faintly. Below, she whispered, where you belong. He screamed underwater, bubbles bursting from his mouth, but her hands reached out, wrapping around his throat gently, almost lovingly. Now answer when I call. The world went black. Ethan woke up on the shore, coughing up water, lungs aching. The lake was calm again, quiet as ever. His car was gone. His phone was gone. He staggered to his feet and looked around. Only one thing remained. The black telephone, resting on a rock nearby. He picked it up, trembling, and pressed it to his ear. This time the voice that spoke wasn't Lena's. It was his own. You're almost home. She calls, part 5, the final call. Ethan walked. He didn't know for how long. The woods around Black Hollow Lake seemed endless, every tree leaning closer as if listening. His clothes clung to him, soaked and heavy, his breath shallow. By the time he reached the road, the world looked different. The sky had no color. The signs, the trees, even his own shadow seemed to waver like a reflection on water. He followed the road back to town. Every few steps, he heard the faint click of a phone receiver lifting somewhere behind him. When he turned, there was nothing. At the edge of town, he saw the clinic. The windows were dark. The sign above the door was rusted, the paint flaking. It looked abandoned. But he'd been there just yesterday. He went inside. The waiting room smelled of mold. The wallpaper peeled in long strips, the furniture covered in dust. His footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. He called out, "Hello?" No answer. He pushed open the door to his office. The air was colder there, damp, like the lake had followed him inside. On his desk sat the black telephone. It rang once, then again. He reached out and lifted the receiver slowly. "Ethan," said his own voice, calm and flat. "Where am I?" he asked. "Home." "This isn't home." "It's where you brought us," the voice said. "The ones you buried in your work. The ones you silenced. You thought the lake could hold the truth, but the truth floats." He clenched the phone. "I didn't kill them. I tried to help." The voice laughed, a hollow echoing sound. "You called it therapy. They called it drowning." Ethan looked around the office. The room shifted. The walls darkened, dripping water. The floor rippled like the lake's surface. His desk began to sink slowly, drawers sliding open as papers floated up. "Stop," he whispered. "You wanted peace, Ethan," the voice said. "You wanted to forget." He dropped the phone. It hit the floor but kept ringing over and over. Then came another sound, footsteps in the hall. Wet, slow, deliberate. He turned toward the door. A figure stood there, pale and soaked, her hair matted to her face. Lena. She stepped inside, water dripping from her dress, leaving dark footprints. Her eyes were blank but alive. "You never answered," she said softly. He backed away. "Lena, please." She stopped inches from him. "Do you remember what you told me that night?" He shook his head. She leaned close, her voice a whisper. "You said you'd rather die than lose me." She smiled, and her smile wasn't human. "So die with me." She grabbed his hand. Her skin was ice. The room dissolved into water. Walls, ceiling, everything falling away until there was only the lake again. They were both standing on its surface, the sky black and endless above them. He looked down. Beneath the water, the faces of his patients stared up, motionless. Their mouths opened, and one by one, they began to ring, the sound of phones echoing through the lake. Ethan screamed. Lena pulled him close, whispering into his ear, "Answer me, Ethan." One last time he opened his mouth, and water poured out. The sound of 1,000 phones ringing filled the darkness. Then silence. Days later, Detective Claire Winters sat in her car by the lake. The rain tapped softly on the windshield. She looked at the empty road and then at her file. Case file. Ethan Cole, missing, presumed dead. His car had been found submerged near the old dock. No body recovered. The locals said the lake took him, like it took the others. Claire closed the file and started her car. As she drove off, the police radio crackled softly with static. Then a voice came through. "Detective Winters?" She frowned. "This is Winters." "Who's this?" the line hissed. "Ethan," the voice said. Claire froze. "Dr. Cole, I just wanted to say..." His voice trailed off, faint, wet, distorted. "She calls." The radio went silent. Behind her, the lake rippled once, then went still again. The end.